Hey guys, Cam back here at the Battler Workshop, and it is a bit of a battle at the moment, being Christmas. I hope you all had a fantastic day on Christmas Day and spent lots of time with your family and friends. I know I certainly did. It was great to get around to everyone at the various places we were having eats and catching up with relatives and mates I hadn't seen for maybe a couple of months. So it was great to do that. Coming up to New Year, I guess. Unfortunately, I've had to work right up to Christmas Eve, and I'm working right through the New Year period before I have a break. We're heading down for our family holiday to Torquay for a couple of weeks. So we head off on the 6th, and we're back on the 20th, I think it is. So really looking forward to that break and putting this year behind me. It has been a bit of a year for me, obviously with all the testing and biopsies and my cancer diagnosis and my subsequent surgery. So I'm really looking forward to putting that behind me and starting a year afresh again, and looking forward to that. All right, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be making up some vice jaws for the offset vice that we're doing the restoration on. So these are the jaws that came off it, and there's very little of the knurling left on these jaws. So we're going to make up some new jaws, and we're going to be using the knurling tool out of the lathe that we're going to mount in the milling machine here to cut that knurl feature into those bars. So we're going to be using that a bit of flat stock, a bit of black bar, around about 20% carbon content. Sorry, I should say 0.2% carbon content, and we're going to be burying that in some hematite in a little coffin. We're going to heat treat that to induce the carbon into the surface. Then we're going to heat treat it again to harden it and then temper them back. So we'll see how that process goes, but we've got a little bit to go before we actually get to that stage. I've got to make up a jig or a fixture, if you like, to be able to mount this into the milling machine. And like all things, we start off with a bit of black bar. I got this from my scrappos. I would have liked this to be a little bit thicker, but we'll work with what we've got to be able to make up this little fixture. I think it's going to be fine to be able to mount this into place. And I do have some other jigs that I need, that I do have, that we can use on the mill to get this knurling happening. And look, I'm pretty sure that probably 90% of the mills we could use this technique on to be able to knurl flats, and we may be able to do a little bit more on it as well and use the milling machine probably in a way that it really wasn't designed to be used, but at a pinch I've got a little bit of an idea that we can basically increase the capacity of the milling machines. With the knurling, as you know, in the last episode we knurled up a bit of bar. I just wanted to see what the definition was like on that bit of aluminium, to see how it's going to reproduce into the jaws, and I was very happy with that. So I think this little knurling tool is going to do the job for us. All right, well, we're going to start off with where all jobs start, well, 99% of the jobs start, and that is in my favourite machine, which is the bandsaw. We'll get this cut off to length. I have done some drawings for this, but we're not going to show you what the drawings are. We're going to do a Mr. Squiggle on this, and we'll see how it shapes up as we go through when we make up this this little fixture, or this little adapter, to be able to get this mounted up into the milling machine. All right, guys, we'll get over to the bandsaw and we'll make a start. All right, guys, we'll catch you in a tick. I was half thinking after I cut that aluminium bronze out really hard stuff that I'd blunted the blade out, but no, it cuts just as good as ever, and I was a bit concerned maybe I've taken one edge off the blade, but it's cutting as straight as a die. So, all right, let's get this squared up in the mill, and we'll get it to size, and then we'll start hogging it out. All right, guys, see you in a tick. Righto, guys, we'll start knocking this block down to the size, and then we'll start cutting the features in. So on these two faces here, we're looking for the absolute minimum cleanup. Righto, that's our block cleaned up. I'll just duck back on the CAD, measure this up as it is, and then we'll readjust our drawing to suit our finished dimensions. One of the ways I like to work when I'm cutting features into blocks is I like to work about the centre line, and that's the way I do my drafting when I'm doing the stuff in my own shop. So I set my centre line up and everything works from the centre line. So it'll be ideal for putting those features in. Alright, we've got that centered up. I've taken a touch up off the top. I've got a little 12mm carbide insert cutter in here. I tend to use these for hogging out. It saves me using the high-speed steel or the carbide ones, and it's easier to replace the tip than it is to try and grind those other ones up. So all the hogging out I try and do is with the carbide tip cutters. Alright, let's do it. Righto, that's the centre slot hogged out. I've got a slot out. We'll take material off the two ends as well. So I'll set up with a bigger carbide insert tip to get that hogged out. Then we'll come back with a carbide cutter to do the finishing out, which gives a nice finish on it. Alright guys, see you in a tick. Alright guys, we just got a little bit of hogging out on the sides here. So I'm going to leave around about 2mm on the width of this, and we can clean this up with the carbide cutters. Right, let's get going. Right, that's our roughing out finished on this side. So while we're set up here, I'll do the finishing cuts as well. So we'll get set up with a solid carbide end mill, and we'll get that knocked out. Right, we'll start our cleanups. There was no work in the workshop yesterday, fellas. It was topping 44 here yesterday. It's down to a pleasant 21 today, and yeah, it's New Year's Eve, so I've knocked off for the day. So get tomorrow off, and then back to work Thursday, Friday, and then we're off for our 2-week holiday down at Torquay. All right, we'll get into this one. Right, we'll just see how our Knurling Tool is going to fit in there. Now I wanted this just to be a very, very, very neat fit. And that is a very neat fit. Alright, I'm very happy with that. We'll get these sides hogged off, and then I've got a bit of drilling and tapping to do on the front face before we start hacking out the back. Righto, that's all the hogging out and finishing out on this side done. I've got some holes that I need to drill and tap at the front face, so we'll get set up for those now, and we'll get started on the back end. Alright, let's do a little bit of rapid tapping. Alright guys, let's try something a little bit different this time. I could hog this out on the mill, but I'm going to give it a go with the bandsaw. I've got a fair bit that's got to come off of this, so I've marked it out, give myself a fair bit of leeway on this, and we'll see how we go with the bandsaw. Quite a thick piece to get through, but we'll see how we go. Okay guys, apologies, the old camera ran out of batteries halfway through our saw cutting, but we'll get cut through this like a hot knife through butter, and it split the line absolutely perfectly on the top side and the bottom side. It cut dead true on that. Did a beautiful job and took no time at all. And the finish on it, very, very happy with that too. Anyway, that's the bit of stock that's left, so rather than being a pile of chips on the ground, I've got a nice bit of stock that I can use for another job down the track. Alright, while we're set up here and we've got the chuck in place, and the drill chuck in place, I need to drill and tap another couple of little holes in here. So we'll do that while that's in place, and then we've got a fair bit of shaping, or a fair bit more shaping to do on the back of this to get this to fit up into the mill. So a little bit more to go yet. Alright guys, Alright guys, I'm going to play with fire here a little bit. I'm going to open this up with a 10mm drill to be able to fit the cap screw in. I'm then going to use an end mill or a slot drill in the drill chuck, which isn't the preferred practice because they'll always tend to wander, but if I drop down with this 10mm first, that'll at least guide it in. It shouldn't go anywhere. We'll see how we go. Right, so all we have to do is flatten the bottom out. Let's see how we go. Alright, beautiful. Right, we'll tap the holes in here now. Yes, my new Milwaukee drill for Christmas. Oh, so much better. Alright, all drilled out. We'll get ready to start. We'll get set up now to start doing our hogging out in the back here and cleaning up. Alright, we'll start cleaning up these faces. None of this is really critical. As I said, these are our bandsaw faces. I've just measured these, and I've got less than a 0.1mm taper and in thickness. Spot on. So, you know, within what, 1/4 hour. So very, very happy with that bandsaw. out of size now. I guess next time I do this, I allowed 4 to 5 millimeters on the bandsaw because I wasn't sure how that was going to perform. So next time I do this cutting out, I'll cut that an awful lot closer. I won't leave as much meat on, knowing that the bandsaw is pretty spot on. All right, I've got a little bit more hogging out to do inside here. So we'll just swap the end mill out for a smaller end mill. We'll get that hogged out and getting fairly close with this now. Alright, all done. I've just got a little bit of a step in the base there that I've just got to take out, so I'll quickly do that. And I've got a little bit more hogging out to do yet, so a little bit more shaping. So I'll get this little step cleaned up so we've got a nice flat surface across here. And yeah, getting closer. Righto, so we're getting there, we're almost there. I've got to take these little let's call them wings off each side. I've got to take those off, and I've got to do some drilling, number of fastening holes in here to get it to mount up into a fixture that we're going to mount up in the mill here. Alright, we'll get set up, we'll knock those wings off, and we'll get these mounting holes put in to get it so that we can get it up onto the fixture. Right. Righto, all finished. The jig that I'm going to mount this into, the mounting jig, I may have to drill and tap into it. So I've added these extra through holes for a diameter 6. I'll just see how it's feeling. If the tool, the knurling tool, is going to be a little bit too loose, it needs to be extremely rigid so that I don't do any damage to the mill. So we'll see how that looks anyway. Alright, so that's the tool holder complete, and that's come up really well. I'm very happy with that. The next thing I need to do is make up a keeper plate for the front face here that's going to hold the tool in place so that the tool can't move as we're traversing the tool across. So it's just a flat plate with a couple of drilled and tapped holes and a couple of through holes to mount it in. So we'll get started on that, and then we'll get some stock organised to give it a go on some knurling. Right, I've got a bit of flat to make up the mounting plate at the front. It's going to be 50 by 48 finished dimensions. It's supposed to be 10 millimeters thick. This is 16, so we'll just take a skim off the top and leave it at 16. It's not a working dimension, so it might just look a little bit silly, that's all, but yeah, it saves a bit of work. Alright, we'll get cutting. Right, I'm just going to quickly machine up this keeper plate. Alright, that's our keeper plate all finished. We'll get that mounted up onto the tool jig and we'll see how things are looking. Right guys, that's this part of it finished, so I'm really happy with how that's all come up. Looks the bee's knees. So we've got the knurling tool locked in on the face with the 2 socket-headed cap screws, and we've also got it locked in from the side with the 2 socket-headed cap screws. I've got a little modification for the mounting jig that this is going to fit to, which is also going to capture this knurling tool as well and just give us a little bit more rigidity as well. So I've got to machine up the jaws, the stock for the jaws, and not far away from giving this a trial run and seeing if this is actually going to, well, do what I think it's going to do. Hopefully it does. And we'll be on a winner. Alright guys, we'll see you in a tick. Alright, so we've got a fairly gnarly piece of old stock that I found at the scrap hose a while ago, and that's what we're going to use to make up our knurl jaws. So I've got enough stock here to do that with. So I'm just going to cut that down with a bandsaw, and then I'll set that up in the mill and we'll get that all squared up. And yep, we'll see how we go. Alright. I'll tell you what guys, this bandsaw here, I've got this very cheap, and gosh, it does a good job. That would have taken me forever out in the garden with a grinder trying to cut that down. This took probably no more than 5 minutes to cut a good 8 inches, and that's 20mm plate. So lovely finish, straight as a die. So very happy with this little machine. Alright, we'll get this set up in the mill and we'll get this all squared out as best we can. And we'll get a lip taken off the top and the bottom and reduce that in thickness a little bit. And we'll start setting up to, we'll see how we go doing our knurling. Alright guys, catch you next time. Alright guys, I just measured it. I thought it was 20mm, but it's actually very old plate this. It's actually 7/8. So it's just a tad over 22. So yeah, amazing what you get at the scrap hose, isn't it? Alright. Alright, all done. That's given a magnificent finish on that, so very happy with that. So we're down to about 18mm thick. I want to make them a little bit thicker than what the previous jaws were, because I might cut a bit of a V in if I'm holding any pipe work in these jaws. So I'll get this deburred and we'll get the machine set up now for having it go at the knurling. So fingers crossed that's going to work out. We're not going to do any damage to the machine. I don't think we are, but we'll just have to take it very easy. But yeah, it should be an interesting setup and an interesting process to watch. Alright guys, we'll see you in a tick. Alright guys, well let's go handheld for a minute. This is the setup we're going to be using. This is the adapter I've got for the horizontal arbor that I use on the Bridgeport when I'm gear cutting or slitting. And you can see this is the bracket that we've made up that is fitting in and around that spider arrangement of this particular support arm. And our bracket's held in there very firmly, and we've got our lathe knurling tool there. So the plan is that we're going to traverse the table backwards and forwards under power feed, engaging the knurls, and we'll see how we go. And then we'll just use the y-axis just to traverse it across to run across the face of the plate that we've machined up. I'll come around the other side just in case that light's blaring it out, but you see why we've sort of had to shape it all out to fit around that spider arrangement there. Now, the way that I've got this set up is that the tool is actually hard up inside that block, if you like. So there's no load going through that spider, so to speak. It's going to be transferred directly into this block. So all we're trying to do with this adapter jig that we've made up is just to hold it firmly in place and nice and square. So let's give it a go, and we'll see if it's going to work. Well, fingers crossed. Alright guys, we'll see you in a tick. Right, so as we're traversing across, we'll start engaging the depth, and we'll see if we can start getting a knurling pattern on. Once we've got our depth, then we'll start traversing across the face. Alright, let's see how we go. Just to show you the sort of action that I'm using for this, it's working quite well. I'm just doing it by hand, and there's not a great deal of load on this handle. Whilst I'm going, I crank it across about half a mil for each run. Get that the other way. Crank it across about another half a mil. And done. Another half a mil. I'm just using the stops here as a guide as I'm coming up, so there's not a great deal of effort on this handle while I'm doing it, just taking it in small increments. I'm certainly not loading the mill up like I thought I was going to be, so just in small bites, and it runs quite easily. And up to our stop. So yeah, a lot less load than what I thought it was going to be, and as I said, those handles turn quite comfortably. Alright, we'll bring you back when we're getting onto the last run. Right, I'll just do another mill. That's it. Alright, we'll take you out and show what sort of a finish we got on. I'm very, very happy with that. That looks beautiful. So hopefully you can see that beautiful knurled finish on there. That took 35 minutes to run that across, and it's about 60 mil, I think. Measure anyway, so see the run out there with the single. We've got plenty of meat in there to be able to cut up to do our 5 inches or 125 millimeters wide, 127. Alright guys, well that worked beautifully and put very little load on the mill, so I'm very happy about that. Alright guys, we'll see you soon. Alright guys, that came up an absolute treat. I'm really happy with that finish. That's exactly what I wanted. It's very well defined. And a really nice pattern in that, a nice diamond pattern, so that's worked out really well. What I was planning to do next was to get this cut up and roughly milled, and then I was going to machine out the inserts for these jaws in the vise just to get those faces cleaned up. That vise is over at my brother's at the moment. He's going to be using the cast iron rods to build all that up for me. And there's some deformation around those seats as well, so he's going to build that up for me as well. But tomorrow we head off for our 2-week family holiday. During January we head down to Torquay for 2 weeks. This is our 17th year, I think. So I'll be out of the workshop for the next 2 weeks, so there won't be any progression on this. The other thing that has happened is that my father has had a stroke on the 2nd. He's currently in hospital at the moment, and they're progressing through with tests, but each time we pop in and see him, he's got less use of his left hand and arm, and his speech is getting more and more slurred. So that's progression of the stroke. They've obviously got medication going on there at the moment, constantly doing scans to see how he is, so that's a bit of a worry for us at the moment. So it's taking a bit of our time as well. So fortunately out at Torquay where we go, we're only 20 minutes away from home, so that we can still pop in and visit, and if anything requires our attention, we can get in pretty quick and be there. So it's a bit of a bad start for the new year, a bit of a bummer, I think. And thinking of Dad going through this at the moment, he's, gosh, what is he, 88 now, so he's getting on a fair bit. On that news too, I've got my biggest order ever for my survey instruments that I manufacture as a product line. It's a company I've done a lot of work for in the past, but they've had a big influx of work come in, and they've employed a lot more surveyors. They're a worldwide organisation, and I manufacture these exclusively for them, for their various areas throughout the world. So there's probably about 4 to 5 weeks work in that for me. So I won't be doing much in the way of videos whilst I'm getting that program or that job through the shop. So they're fairly intense to do, extreme accuracy, and you've got to be thinking the entire time with your setups and how you're going. So that's going to put a bit of a hole in getting videos out, but please hang in with me while I get them through, and then we can get back and we can get this vise finished off. And I've got some interesting things that I want to have a go at, which I haven't seen. Well, I must admit, yeah, there's not a lot on YouTube, or I don't think there's anything on YouTube for this little job that I want to do, so it'll be a fairly interesting one to do. So we're going to give that a go. It involves using the lathe sort of too, so we're going to see how that works out. Alright guys, we'll see you in the very near future. As I said, we've got some family issues to deal with, heading away on holidays for a couple of weeks, and I've got that big order that I've got to fulfill for those survey instruments that I make. So all the best to all of you for the new year, and we will see you soon. Okay guys, see you there.